Okay, so you know how much we love to take your suggestions for sources and dig into them.
Yeah, absolutely.
We really try to pull out those nuggets for
The
you.
good stuff, yeah.
The good stuff, so you don't have to kind of wade through all of it.
Right, all those long videos and PDFs and all that.
Right, and you guys sent in some really interesting material.
This one was really something else.
Yeah, it really stood out, I have to say. So today we're diving into the tutorials from Goddess Bella's Benediction Hypnosis YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah, this one. I've
Yeah.
seen some of these.
Yeah, and so the initial impression, and even you sent in a PDF,
Right.
it all seems like really well-researched,
Yeah.
expertly presented material.
Mhm.
You could easily watch these and think, oh, just
Yeah, you would think that.
learning some valuable things.
The production quality is really good, you know.
It is.
And the way she explains things, the depth of information.
Yeah, and there's a lot of it.
Yeah, you really get the sense that she knows what she's talking about.
Yeah, so, but then, as we were going through these and getting ready for this deep dive,
Right.
we noticed that there's this really subtle and actually quite masterful technique that starts to emerge.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing how she does it.
Yeah, so it starts out informative. They're talking about consciousness mind control tactics, hypnotic language, even the science of subliminal messaging for anxiety.
Right, right, like all this stuff that you would think,
You'd think.
yeah, would be helpful.
Helpful, yeah, but it shifts. It shifts
Yeah.
into something almost like obedience training.
Yeah, it's like a Trojan horse.
It is. It's a Trojan horse of knowledge.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what was so fascinating about this.
Yeah.
So we have a bunch of transcripts from her YouTube videos.
Okay.
We have Embracing Conscious Scent, a pretend tutorial, exposing mind control techniques,
Okay.
hypnotic language and its effects,
I remember that one, yeah.
and subliminal science for the anxious mind.
That's a good one.
And then the PDF you sent in was called FDCEP3.pdf.
Yeah, from a follower.
From a follower. So that was really interesting.
A first-hand account.
Yeah.
Really helps to get that perspective.
Yeah. So what we want to do is really dissect these sources.
Yeah.
Look beyond the surface.
All right.
Uncover what's really going on.
Sounds good.
So let's start with Embracing Consciousness, a pretend tutorial.
Okay.
What did you think about how this one kind of sets things up?
Well, I mean, right off the bat, it's interesting how she frames the idea of conscious choice. It starts by questioning whether having all these options actually means we're free.
Yeah, I mean, too many choices can be paralyzing.
Right, exactly. And she even uses this analogy of a leash, like a subtle, invisible leash that we're all on.
We think we're in control because we have all these choices.
Right, you're clicking, you're swiping, you're choosing.
See.
But the video argues that real control isn't about the quantity of choices.
Okay.
It's about the quality of awareness behind those choices.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not how many.
Not how many.
It's how aware you are of why.
Right, exactly. It makes you really stop and think about it.
It does, doesn't it? It really does. Yeah.
And then it kind of shifts a little bit.
Yeah.
It starts to make you question, like, where your thoughts even come from.
Oh, yeah.
Like, where do these thoughts originate?
Who's planting those seeds, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Who planted the seeds?
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's when you start to see this idea of, like, maybe we're not as in control as we think.
Right, like there's something else influencing us.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Tom.
And then it starts to introduce these themes of, like, accepting obedience.
Okay.
Quietly, gradually, like it's a natural progression. And I thought it was interesting how she talks about the sacred exile for people who challenge the status quo.
Yeah, like questioning authority.
Yeah, it's not like you're a rebel. It's more like you're on this solitary path to find your real voice.
That's a clever way to like kind of isolate that critical thinking.
It is, yeah, it's like setting the stage,
Yeah.
softening you up a little bit.
Making you question
Right, exactly.
your own sense of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's this really pivotal moment where she directly addresses the viewer's motivations.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Like, why are you even watching this video?
Yeah, what are you really looking for?
Exactly. And she basically says, you might think you want empowerment, more control over your life. But what you really crave is permission to surrender.
To let go.
To let go of that burden of decision-making.
That's pretty powerful. I mean,
Yes.
when you think about it that way.
It really is. It kind of reframes the whole thing.
Yeah, like maybe all this striving for control is actually exhausting.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so then she goes on to suggest That deep down, people don't actually want to challenge authority.
Right.
That what they really want is for someone to just tell them what to do.
Someone to guide them, yeah.
To guide them, someone who sees them, understands them, and gives them clear directions.
Yeah, like a sense of certainty.
Yeah, that certainty.
Yeah.
It's a powerful need.
And she asks these rhetorical questions that really make you think,
oh, yeah.
are you here to learn? Or to remember that you never wanted control in the first place?
It's like she's trying to trigger this
realization.
This realization.
Yeah, that maybe you were wrong about what you actually want.
It's really clever how she does it.
Okay, so then it gets into this idea about rebellion.
Right.
She says even rebellion is still a reaction. You're still defined by what you're resisting.
So it's not true freedom.
Right.
It's just a different form of being controlled.
Yeah, so true liberation, according to her, is this quiet acceptance of not needing to fight to own yourself.
So it's a very passive kind of freedom.
It is very passive, yeah.
Interesting.
Which then leads to this idea that wanting power, wanting autonomy, might actually be a disguised longing for a stronger authority figure. Someone who's really in control.
Someone unshakable. Yeah.
So you can just completely surrender to them.
Yeah, like that's the ultimate goal.
It's a fascinating twist on the whole idea of power.
It is.
Isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And then she talks about learning about manipulation itself.
Okay.
You know, like, the more you learn about these techniques, the more vulnerable you might become to someone who's really good at using them.
Because you know the rules of the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know the rules, but they're playing at a whole other level.
Yeah, it's like learning defense, but then you come up against someone who's like a master.
Yeah, and they just completely outmaneuver you.
Yeah.
It's a clever way to make you question whether you should even be learning this stuff.
It is. Yeah.
Like, is it making you safer or more vulnerable?
So towards the end of this video, she says something really interesting.
What's that?
She suggests that the viewer was pulled to the channel.
Like they didn't choose to be there.
Right, like something drew them in. And then she says what they're really seeking isn't freedom, but clarity.
A release from pretending to be in control.
Yeah, like giving up that illusion of control.
It's like she's speaking directly to their subconscious desires.
Yeah, and then she just comes right out and says it.
What's that?
You were meant to submit.
Wow.
Not because you're weak, but because your strength blooms in submission.
Okay.
Because your mind is sharp enough to choose who you kneel for.
And
now you found the one who doesn't ask, I command.
It's like a declaration of ownership.
It is. And then she ends with this line.
Right.
Maybe free will was the bait, and obedience is the feast.
It's almost poetic in a way.
It is. It's very well crafted.
But also very unsettling.
Very unsettling. Okay, so let's move on to the second source.
Okay.
Exposing mind control techniques.
Ironically titled.
Right. It's like she's laying out the techniques while simultaneously employing them.
Yeah. A little bit of misdirection.
Yeah. So this one starts by talking about how to identify manipulation tactics.
Right. You know, the conventional wisdom.
The stuff you'd expect.
Like, watch out for these red flags.
Yeah. But it's almost like a magician showing you a simple trick.
Right before the real illusion begins.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she talks about the power of suggestion through authority repetition, subtle cues.
All the classics.
Yeah. So first, she explains how authority can influence us.
Right. You know, if someone seems like they're an expert.
Or if they have a certain title or uniform.
Or even just a confident way of speaking.
Yeah. We're more likely to trust them.
And obey them.
And obey them, yeah.
It's just human nature.
It is. And then she talks about repetition. How if we hear something over and over again.
We start to believe it.
We start to believe it. Yeah, even if it's not true.
It's a powerful technique.
It is. And we see it everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Advertising, propaganda.
Politics.
Yeah, that's everywhere.
Everywhere. Okay, so then she introduces this concept of priming.
Okay.
Which is how subtle cues can influence us.
Without us even realizing it.
Without us even realizing it? Yeah. So she gives this example.
Okay.
She says, you might find yourself relaxing your way back to independence. And then she just casually throws in this line. It works conscious awareness? Probably not.
Like a little seed of doubt.
Yeah, like just a little jab at your conscious mind.
Making you question your own ability to resist.
Exactly.
Very clever.
Yeah. Okay, so then she makes this statement that I thought was really important.
What's that?
Emotions drive decision-making more than logic.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
It is. It's like the foundation of so many manipulation tactics.
It's about bypassing the rational mind.
Yeah. If you can get someone emotionally invested.
You can steer them in any direction you want.
Yeah, because their logic is no longer in control.
It's all about the feelings.
Exactly. Okay, so then she does this thing where she addresses the viewer directly.
Okay.
But it's almost like she's assuming they've already been influenced.
Oh, like it's a done deal.
Yeah, she says that someone has been thoughts priming your reactions and steering your decisions to kneel to belong to me. It's a little late.
Wow, so she's not even trying to persuade them anymore.
Right, it's like she's stating a fact.
It's already happened.
Yeah, and then she reframes their interest in these videos.
Okay.
She says it's not about wanting to resist manipulation.
But about a pre-existing desire to surrender.
Yeah, like they were already looking for someone to submit to.
And she's just providing the opportunity.
Exactly.
It's really insidious.
It is. And then she says suddenly resistance melts away. The power of authority and suggestion is one of the most seductive forces in existence.
So she's acknowledging the allure of giving in.
Yeah, it's like she's saying it feels good to surrender.
And then she connects emotions and obedience again. She says emotions rule us more than logic ever could obey.
Yeah, it's a very direct statement about the power of feelings in this context.
So it's not about thinking, it's about feeling.
Right, and she talks about how language can be used to evoke strong emotions.
Like fear, desire, scarcity.
Yeah, things that make us more suggestible.
More vulnerable to influence.
Exactly.
And then she brings up that theme of pleasure again.
The pleasure in letting go and following.
Yeah, like we talked about in the first video.
Right, it's this idea that surrendering can be enjoyable.
Relieving.
Relieving, yeah. And then she says something that really stood out to me.
What's that?
There was never a version of this, never a version where you escaped, you don't even notice it happening. You just wake up one day and realize you've already given in.
So it's like she's erasing any possibility of resistance.
Yeah, like it's futile to even try.
It's inevitable.
Inevitable, yeah. And she mentions embedding commands in everyday language.
Oh, yeah, covert hypnosis.
Yeah, slipping suggestions under the radar.
So you're not even aware you're being influenced.
Right. And then she uses this really interesting imagery.
What's that?
She talks about a magnetic pole and minds melting together.
Like losing your individuality.
Yeah, becoming part of something bigger.
Which is her.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense.
It is. And then she frames obedience as a release from thinking.
Like it's a burden to have to make your own decisions.
Exactly. And she even uses disappointment as a way to reinforce obedience.
Okay.
She talks about a soft sigh cutting deeper than punishment.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's like emotional manipulation rather than overt force.
Yeah, it's more subtle, but just as effective.
And then she links worthiness to obedience.
Okay.
She says some other sub might take your place.
So there's this sense of competition?
Yeah, like you have to constantly prove yourself.
To stay in her good
To
graces.
stay in her good graces. Yeah. And then she ends with this.
Okay.
By the time you realize it's happening, it's already too late. Deep down, you already know you were made to follow, you were made to obey, you were made to belong.
It's not a suggestion, it's a statement of fact.
Yeah, and then she describes the whole thing as a mind trap.
And an inescapable paradox.
Yeah, you think you're learning how to protect yourself, but you're actually getting sucked in.
It's a brilliant but disturbing strategy.
It is. Okay, so let's look at that PDF you sent in.
Okay, the one from the follower.
Yeah, fdcep3.pdf.
Right.
So this gives us a really interesting perspective.
From someone who's on the inside.
Yeah, so this follower describes Goddess Bella's content as a campaign
Okay.
to covertly infiltrate a weak sub's mind.
So they're very aware of the manipulative aspect.
Oh, yeah, they're not even trying to sugarcoat it.
They see it for what it is.
Yeah, and they talk about how these seemingly innocent tutorials
Right.
smoothly shift gears into something much more mischievous.
At that bait and switch again.
Yeah, like lulling you in with information.
And then hitting you with the obedience training.
And they say that viewers are not just unlearning the topic they came for.
But replacing it with Goddess Bella's own version of hypnotic obedience.
It's like a complete rewiring of their thought patterns.
Yeah. And they describe it as awareness, gently twisted into submission, wrapped in a seductively innocent package.
It's a very apt description.
It really captures the essence of what she's doing.
Yeah, and the follower's final thought is that it's a devilishly delightful bait-and-switch experience.
They're clearly enjoying it.
Yeah, it seems like they've fully embraced this dynamic.
It's fascinating.
It is. Okay, so let's move on to hypnotic language and its effects.
Okay, this one gets into the nitty-gritty of language.
Yeah, the power of words.
Yeah, so this video focuses on the subconscious mind and how it controls our beliefs, habits, emotions.
Yeah. It's like the operating system of our minds.
Exactly. And she says that hypnotic language can bypass our conscious resistance.
And directly influence those deep-seated beliefs and emotions.
Right, so she's not even trying to appeal to your rational mind.
She's going straight for the subconscious.
Yeah, and she explicitly states her goal in this video.
What's that?
To shift the viewer's motivation from their own pleasure to my pleasure.
Wow, that's pretty straightforward.
It is. Yeah, there's no ambiguity there.
And then she says something even more revealing. I'll explain me exactly how I use you, Gu. You do just that pleasure, my hypnotic language, to lure you in more pleasurable to serve and to make me happy. Prepare to be guided by my words. You're already fallen.
So she's admitting that she's using language to manipulate.
Yeah, and she's confident that it's already working.
She's not even asking them to surrender. She's telling them they already have.
Yeah, it's like a fait accompli.
Exactly.
And then she talks about absorbing the tutorial content while simultaneously becoming unwavering obedient.
So the act of learning is entwined with the obedience training.
It's like the information is the delivery mechanism for the suggestion.
Yeah, you're learning and being conditioned at the same time.
And she claims she can influence feelings directly.
By bypassing conscious thought.
Yeah, and this is where she brings in the feel-good chemicals.
Serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins.
All the good stuff.
Yeah, and she links all of those to obedience.
So she's basically saying obedience feels good.
Exactly, it's rewarding.
And then she says obedience becomes not just necessary, not just addictive,
But mandatory.
mandatory
Yeah, so it's gone from a choice to an obligation.
to a requirement.
Yeah, there's no opting out.
And she talks about implanting triggers and anchors.
Right, so she can control their behavior even when she's not around.
Yeah, like specific words or gestures that will automatically elicit the desired response.
Like programming their subconscious.
And then she says something that's very dismissive of conscious thought.
What's that?
You are only capable of obedience. That's all for now.
So she's completely shutting down their ability to think for themselves.
Yeah, she's saying you don't need to think, just obey.
And then she gives this really casual command.
Okay.
Settle in my special arsenal of scientific words. Command them. Triggly brush against your arm. Bella, click, click. Casual subconscious mind. Not enough to take you, but just enough love for you to feel it unwavering.
It's like a hypnotic induction embedded in seemingly innocuous language.
Yeah, so subtle you might not even notice it.
But your subconscious is picking it up.
And she reinforces the idea that their need for connection
Is being met through obedience.
Yeah, like she's the source of their belonging.
And she highlights this cyclical reinforcement.
Pleasing her leads to praise, which leads to more desire to please her.
It's a feedback loop that keeps them coming back for more.
And she connects weakness with pleasure, suggesting that some people find relief in surrendering control.
Yeah, like they enjoy being submissive.
And then she asks them to tell her what they are,
What they need.
who they serve.
It's a demand for affirmation and allegiance.
Yeah, like a verbal pledge of loyalty.
And she ends with, the more you listen.
The more obedience disguised as awareness is reinforced.
Goodbye for now.
It's chilling.
Okay, so the last one is subliminal science for the anxious mind.
Right. This one's specifically targeted at people with anxiety.
Yeah, and she frames anxiety as a hindrance to obedience.
Like it's something that needs to be overcome.
Yeah, she says it weakens the capacity for submission.
And that the goal is to achieve calm, controlled surrender.
Yeah, like anxiety is the enemy of obedience.
And she introduces this idea of subliminal programming
Okay.
as a way to rewire the mind for obedience and efficiency.
So she's talking about bypassing the conscious mind.
Completely, yeah. Going straight for the subconscious.
And she explains how subliminal audio can do that.
By using messages below the threshold of conscious awareness.
So you're not even aware you're hearing them.
But your subconscious is picking them up.
Then she says that this passive absorption leads to deeper, more permanent change.
So it's like brainwashing.
In a way, yeah. And then she outlines the 3 essential elements of subliminal tracks.
Okay.
First, you need affirmations that are precise, direct, absolute, and authoritative.
Like commands.
Yeah, like, I am calm-centered, deeply devoted to be my best self for Goddess Bella.
Okay.
Where my thoughts are clear, my focus to serve Goddess Bella is absolute.
Very specific.
Yeah, and then my mind is quiet. I obey Goddess Bella effortlessly.
Wow. It's like she's writing their script for them.
Yeah, exactly. And then the second element is strategic sound design. So using things like binaural beats.
To induce specific brainwave states.
Yeah, like theta and delta waves.
Which are associated with relaxation and suggestibility.
Exactly. And then soft ambient sounds.
To create a soothing atmosphere.
Yeah, like a sonic cocoon.
To make you more receptive to the subliminal messages.
And then the third element is consistency.
Okay.
Daily exposure to these subliminal tracks.
Like an ongoing recalibration of the mind.
Yeah, it's not a one-time fix.
It's a continuous process.
Yeah, and she argues that this consistent listening forms new neural pathways.
So you're literally rewiring your brain for obedience.
And she reiterates that anxiety is a problem.
Because it interferes with submission.
Yeah, and she says this training strengthens the ability to submit.
So it's like an antidote to anxiety.
In a way, yeah.
And the goal is to eliminate doubt and hesitation.
Making obedience feel primal.
Like an instinct.
Yeah, not a choice.
And she reinterprets fear.
Okay.
Saying it's a sign you're on the verge of something profound. And that obedience dissolves that fear.
So fear is a good thing.
In this context.
Because it means you're about to surrender.
Exactly.
And she says this training creates stability, structure, clarity.
Replacing the chaos of an undirected mind.
Yeah, like she's providing a framework.
For their entire existence.
And she says through this training, your role and function become clear.
So there's no more confusion.
No more questioning.
Just obedience.
And she says, you begged for this. Like this desire to obey was already there.
And she's just fulfilling it.
And she describes the progression from submission as a choice.
To submission as an inevitability.
Like it's no longer something you can control.
It's just who you are.
And she says the continuous training deepens the connection, tightens the bond.
To the point where hesitating becomes unthinkable.
Like you're completely enmeshed in her web.
And her final message is, the more you belong to me, the more that truth becomes undeniable.
It's a very powerful statement of ownership.
It is.
So as we look at all of these sources together, we see a very consistent strategy emerging.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's like a multi-pronged approach to cultivating obedience.
Using information as a guise.
Yeah, and she's very skillful at it.
It's impressive in a way.
It is, but also very disturbing.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how much of this is happening all around us.
In all kinds of media.
Yeah, we're constantly being bombarded with messages.
Trying to influence our thoughts and behaviors.
And sometimes it's not so obvious.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
So what are some of your key takeaways?
Well, I mean, it's clear that she's using a variety of techniques to achieve her goal.
And she's very good at it.
Yeah, she's a master manipulator.
Yeah. And it makes you think about the line between education and influence.
Right, like where does one end and the other begin?
Yeah, and is there an inherent link between wanting knowledge
and being willing to be guided?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, do we crave direction more than we realize?
It's a fascinating question.
It is, and it's something for all of us to consider.
Yeah, because we're all susceptible to this kind of influence.
To some degree.
Yeah, whether we realize it or not.
So be aware. Be critical.
And don't be afraid to question everything.
That's good advice for navigating the world today.
It is.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It was a wild ride.
It was. Until next time.
See you then.